Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with me, your host. My name is Chad Medved. This is obviously my show, if you're watching it right now. Welcome to it. Appreciate you being here as usual. If you're a new listener, welcome. Welcome to what we got going on over here. Basically, what we do every week is sit down with interesting people that are inhabiting Pittsburgh, and we learn about their lives. Kind of a deep dive. I've been thinking about, this being called a podcast. Everything's called a podcast. I don't know if these are necessarily podcasts. These almost feel like little documentaries. I don't know. Maybe they're not, but if you think about it, every week we really dive into, everyone's life, from them being a little tyke to them, talking about obviously the reason that, they're on my radar to be a guest on the podcast. Everyone got a wild life. This is going to be episode 272. And I mean, honestly, everyone pretty much has, a crazy life. Doesn't matter what type of job you have. Anyone from, a welder to a funeral director. Everyone has a very unique path that they are led down, and it's kind of fun to learn. Well, not kind of. It's fun to learn about it each week. I've had the opportunity to talk to a lot of cool people. So if you're new, I would urge you to hop back in the phone book. That's what I call the backlog of episodes. I call it the phone book because, there's different names in there that you could look up, and you could go back and you could listen to episodes that I've done previously. Like I said, this is going to be 272. You got 272 episodes backlogged to check out. These are 200 and, some people are duplicated, but this is like 255 individual people that I kind of dig into their lives at a level that I'm sure not a lot of people do. I try to lean into it. I lean into really getting into, the sidebars of people's lives, the side quests, the side quests of people's lives. Like, for instance, last week, Kate is a part owner of Brown Bear Bread Cafe. She was like, yeah, I'm a trained opera singer. So obviously, my attention went to that. Obviously, people know her from Brown Bear Bread. I can never say it right. But, I want to learn about, her being an opera singer for a while. And each week is kind of like that. Each week we're very tangential, and we kind of just let the conversation go where it is. So like I said, hop back into it. Check some out that you haven't yet. And enjoy the people of Pittsburgh that you might not know about. And obviously the people that you do know about. We got the big names on there like Sally Wiggin, like Edgar Snyder. I keep this photo of Sally Wiggin on my table because, this is a big deal for me. Sally Wiggin, that was a big one for me. Episode 200, if you're curious, but, Sally Wiggin, Rick Seaback, Edgar Snyder, these are people that I grew up, knowing about. Everyone that's listening to this right now probably knows who Edgar Snyder was. Everyone knows who Rick Seaback is, and it's just wild that they came to my house and sat down and talked to me for, a couple hours. Sally Wiggin rolled up with a trained German Shepherd dog. It wasn't in the studio while we were recording, just chilled in her car. But that's, Sally Wiggin rolled up with some artillery, and that was pretty, pretty crazy. Same thing. Edgar Snyder rolled up on a Saturday. I think it was like a Saturday morning, and this guy that we see on every single, commercial while we're growing up, sitting across from me at my table at my basement. So I don't know. I'm going to quit, trying to convince you to listen, because I feel like, if that right there doesn't spark your interest, and, I don't know what to tell you. But this week, the reason that everyone is here, this week we're talking to another interesting individual. This week, Korey Edmonson is here in the studio, and we talk about his life. We talk about he's an artist by profession, mostly painting. He paints these incredible portraits of people, and this week he comes over and we learn about his life. And I've said this on here before, but like artists and chefs are always my favorite people to learn about because, you know, those are almost like, you know, the people's stories on how they fell into the food industry or how they, you know, started to pursue art often come with a lot of side quests. They often, you know, come with a lot of changes in lives. You know, if people are working in the food industry, it's often that they're jumping around. You know, a perfect example is Christian from Oak Hill Post. You know, he was a food industry person growing up, and you know he jumped around his whole entire life, and it made for a great conversation. So Korey comes over, and we talk about how he went from, you know, being a kid that just grew up in Thomas Jefferson, that was, you know, ultimately unfocused like a lot of us. You know, we talk about how in, you know, middle school, high school, how, you know, his focus really wasn't on artwork. You know, we talk about him being interested in art as a young kid and then ultimately just falling out of it because, you know, that's what you do in high school. You get distracted by other things. And, you know, how he kind of, you know, went back and fell back into, or how he was led back down that path. And it's a fascinating story, like everyone is. And I had a great time talking to him. This is a lengthy intro, but you know, I wanted to let the new people here know kind of what I'm about here at I'll Call You Right Back podcast, because I appreciate everyone that comes and listens to it each week. You know, I work hard on this, and it's fun to hear people enjoy it. You know, it really is. It's a great time. So if you enjoy the podcast, you know, throw me a follow, you know, subscribe to this YouTube channel. If you're watching this right now, if you're listening right now and you're not watching the video feed, you could like, rate, and review and subscribe to the episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And, if you want to support, you know, one length further, you know, I got a Patreon. You know how to use the internet. Go to Patreon. I'll Call You Right Back podcast. I got merchandise on my website. I'll call you right back.com. Follow Korey at Korey the Artist, Korey, the Artist. He's on Instagram and he just does incredible work. You know, follow these people that are on here each week and really check out what they're doing, because they're obviously on here because like they've done something to pique my interest. You know, I only have people on here that are very interesting, and he is absolutely one of them. So I will leave it at that. I hope you enjoy the podcast, and thanks for checking it out. So without further ado, episode 272 of I'll Call You Right Back podcast with Korey Edmonson.
I gotta use the telephone.
Hello?
Telephone.
I'll call you right back. Call you right back.
Telephone.
I'll Call You Right Back podcast. I mean, I don't really do like I just kind of roll into it. So I came across you from Tyler Podomic.
Yeah.
I think that he was the one that shared your stuff. I just came across you recently.
Yeah.
And I saw you do some artwork, and you do some pretty great stuff. And then I saw you were doing video content, and I'm fascinated to learn about it. I'm happy you came over today.
Yeah, thank you. No, Tyler, he's a really dope guy. And we actually went to high school together.
Yeah.
So we were in high school together in Thomas Jefferson. And then afterwards, we somehow connected afterwards.
Yeah.
Eventually, like years later afterwards. And it's awesome that he makes art. And I love making art as well, then also using social media as that outlet to present that.
Yeah.
At the same time. Similar to the podcast right here, when you were earlier speaking about, first it was the audio, and then you ventured out and did now it's more so video.
Yeah.
It's that like extra step to present it in that kind of way.
Yeah.
And I think that now using social media, it's helpful.
It is helpful. And I mean, like, you gotta utilize what you got. My, the audio is cool. And like, I'm just not really like a YouTuber all the time. So like, I don't like, watch any podcasts on YouTube really. I usually just listen to them. So, cause I'm in the office and like, just sitting at a computer and I'll listen to stuff like that, whether it be that or driving somewhere. But, I was like, I need to be able to like start putting some more content out with this. And I'm not like me personally, I'm trying to think of how I consume content. And, no one really wants to just like, some people don't even have headphones. So you can't listen to a 35-second audio with nothing, no visual aid along with it. So I was like, I'll make the jump. I'll do the video. And, it's been a learning curve for sure, but it could be worse. We're making it work. I'm a one-man show with this, so I try to do what I can.
Yeah, that's dope. Because even before this, I was thinking in my head, I wonder if there's going to be like people in the background. Have you ever seen Tiny Desks?
Yeah.
In
oh
VR,
yeah.
And how they have the people behind the camera.
Yeah, all the audience back there.
It's like, I was like, I wonder if it's going to be like that.
This is a very intimate setting. I invite everyone over to my home. I've had the opportunity to have everyone, graciously drive and come and chill in my basement. My wife has been cool enough to let me turn this basement into a studio. So here we are. Before this, though, whenever I had a apartment over in Ingram, it was just, I would have to kick her out for like 3 hours every Monday night. And I would just, that got to the point where I just felt bad doing that to her. So we ended up moving here, getting this house. And then, we both have a place. She does wedding makeup. So she has her studio upstairs on the third floor and then, or the second floor rather. And then, I get this down here. This is my little hangout.
Cool, man. So you both are creatives, would you say?
I guess so. Yeah, we both have a corporate job. I work as, I guess, like an engineer. I don't get paid like an engineer, but I do engineering stuff, design piping. I go to like coal processing plants and, people order custom piping and I design it all on AutoCAD and then we manufacture it there. My wife works at a bank, but we both have our side hustles that we're trying to turn into our full-time eventually.
The main thing.
Yeah.
The main thing.
You said you went to Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah.
Do you know Jazz too?
Jazz.
Steven Jazz Kulski?
Jazz. How old is he?
I think he's probably in his like 30, maybe 31. What year did you graduate? He knows Tyler real well.
2012.
Okay, so he might have been out before you.
Yeah.
But he's another artist. He lives over in California now, but his Instagram I think is Jazz Blues, but I had him on before, and that's how I met Tyler, or that's how I like learned about Tyler.
Yeah.
And then it's just like kind of a spider web. Like I just like, that's how I pick the people that I have on here. I just really just come across them in real time, and anyone that does stuff that is interesting to me, I just hit them up and have them come over and we learn about them.
That's dope, man.
I appreciate it.
Yeah. So it's that love for. I think it's also a love for knowledge.
Yeah.
Would you say like this love for knowledge that allows you to be able to reach out and also meet new people at the same time?
Absolutely.
So you're learning as what you do. It's more of like you have a love for it, but you're also learning as you have this love for it. Would you say so? It's more like this natural kind of like cool connection that you have. You're able to learn and keep growing while you're doing something that you love.
I'm just so fascinated with everything. Like whether it be like, everyone kind of gets stuck in their roles, like their 9-to-5s or whatever their focus is. If your focus is art, whatever, but that's like, that's your whole life. And I just didn't want to kind of just be stuck with that. I wanted to just keep learning. Because even if I went to school for what I did with like engineering, I still like have a fascination to learn about like, a funeral director. Like that's a perfect example. I've had funeral directors on here and I've just been fascinated about that career and, never really knew, I never really knew much about it, but it would be weird for me to meet someone in a bar and they'd be like, oh yeah, I'm a funeral director, and me sit there for an hour and a half and just berate them with random questions like, how do you embalm a body? You know, like what's it like to deal with all that? You know, has a body ever moved? You know, there's not really, this gives me an excuse to have a platform to ask people, you know, just the questions, and it gives people, it gives all the guests an excuse to kind of dive into their passions and kind of talk about it a little bit more. So, I mean, have you always been an artist?
I would say yes, especially as a kid, painting. I think that's almost every artist's story is, when I was a kid, I would always draw and things of that sort. So it's mainly been that too.
Yeah.
I think that once I got older and a little bit after college, I started honing that traditional art more. And I went to college for graphic design, so computer stuff.
Yeah.
And I think afterwards, I fell back in love with that traditional art. And then I started honing it through books and online class and things of that sort. And then I think that was more so the self-taught thing. So then I continued with that. I continued with learning more about traditional art. And then I think that's when I almost found my purpose in it. I was like, okay, this is something that I love to do.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my family and friends said I excelled at it. So I was thinking, okay, this is awesome. But then also I can get paid for it.
Yeah.
So there's those three things of I love it, I excel at it, so I've heard, and I can get paid for it.
And that's the goal, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You want to get paid for doing what you love.
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's like, that's the dream, right?
Yeah.
But so when you were young, like, do you remember like how young you were whenever you started drawing? Like, I mean, every young kid is scribbling on paper and stuff like that. But, some people like, you know, Tyler and Jazz, the other artists that I spoke with, and some others, you know, some of them have stories of being like, you know, present minded, like at a real young age to where they're like, yeah, I just want to like lean into this a little bit more.
Yeah. I would say for me, it was, I would draw cartoons. I remember drawing the Tasmanian Devil from the Looney Tunes.
Oh yeah.
Off of a cover, like a blanket that I had.
Yeah.
Or even the Flintstones off of a cereal box. Or even the Jetsons as well. So I would love drawing different kind of cartoons and things of that sort. And then I would draw real life stuff. My grandma had I believe it was a parakeet. She had a bird. So I drew that bird. And I would just constantly draw things without being told to do so.
Yeah.
It was this thing to where I would do it and there was no kind of
rhyme or reason.
Right. And it was just natural to me. It was something that I enjoyed doing outside of other things, especially back then, because we didn't have the iPhones and stuff like that.
Absolutely.
And I think there was that more so the freedom to do it.
Yeah.
Whereas now my son's 8 and he has this almost distraction of devices. Mm-hmm. And me as a parent, I want him to have fun with some things and play with devices and games in that same time. At the same time, those can be distractions and can almost distract kids from learning what they love to do.
Yeah.
And that's why at home, I say to my son, make something with your hands. Whatever you do today after school, after you get done reading or homework, go make something with your hands.
Yeah.
And currently he's in ceramics class. And I love being able to push that creative outlet in him.
Yeah.
Because then I noticed that when I say, hey, go do something other than play with a device, he's making something. He recently knitted a little cube.
Yeah.
Took some stuffing out of his neck. What are those neck things called? Neck pillows?
Neck pillows.
Yeah, neck pillows. He took the stuffing out of there and then put it within his little cube that he made, and now it's this little stuffed animal that he made. And
that's
things
cool.
like that. Yeah, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, to be able to create things yourself. Well, whenever you were younger, I mean, like, did you have people that were artistic in your family that kind of like, you know, got you started with that?
Yes, I would say my great grandfather, Lamar D. Lee, he was an artist, and then also my other grandfather, he was an artist as well, and I believe it was passed down like through them that gift was passed down as well. And then I also had teachers in elementary school that I remember. I remember those. There's a lot of teachers I don't remember at all.
Yeah.
And I remember my art teachers.
I definitely an impression.
Yes, I remember those art teachers. And then a lot of it was also my mom. She really encouraged me into making art. And she kind of just, even hearing that from family and friends that this is something, oh, you're good at this. Hey, this is, and they would kind of look at you in a ways and saying, hey, this is better than average in a way. Like this is not the average thing.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
and even as a kid, it's interesting because I can look at that now and say that was almost like the validation that we look for in social media.
100%.
In a way,
to let you know that like, oh, I am all right at this. Like this is something that, you know, I'm doing well at and I could keep going.
Yeah. And at the same time, there was this innocence to it though. So I couldn't like go on social media and like, oh, does someone like this photo? It was more so, there was no kind of influence of that in a negative sense. It was more so the influence of, you're good at this. We see that you're good at this. We're going to get you a coloring book or a sketch pad and a big set of color pencils for Christmas.
Yeah.
And we're going to keep getting you stuff like this.
Yeah. And cultivate that.
Yeah. And I was, okay, so this is, I love doing this. Yeah.
That's cool that, so that's cool. So it really started from a young age. Like you just never really stopped.
Well, I would say I stopped during high school. Middle school and high school, I stopped getting distracted, doing things that middle school and high school kids do, getting distracted and stuff like that. And I stopped for a long period of time.
Yeah.
At the same time, I would draw funny sketches with friends, just funny stuff, nothing too serious. And I didn't really take it too seriously. And then it was eventually years and years, like after college, a few years after that, 2015 is when I really started drawing more. Around 2015, 2014 will be the time of, okay, I enjoy this. I love graphic design. I'm in school for it, but there's still this creative hole that's kind of missing. And I find that when I go back to drawing,
that's what fills that void.
I'm okay. Yeah. I'm like, okay. And at the same time, I think I was taking that time to be distracted by other things. And I was more so focused on those things to where I didn't know like what I love to do.
Yeah.
Like those things distracted me from figuring out that, oh, hey, I love art. I love traditional art. And yeah, I would say over time, eventually there was this period of not doing art and then falling back in love with it.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Well, what is so if you're in middle school and, you know, going into high school and you do art, was it mainly just drawing and like painting?
Yeah, it was drawing. I'd have an art class in high school. And actually, Tyler was in one of my art classes. Okay. He was in my art class in high school, and we would paint some things. There would be some cool projects, and I would really dive into those. I would really dive into these projects, and it was fun for me. And it wasn't. I think then that's when I still knew that I love creative things.
Yeah.
And then my mom was saying after high school, oh well, graphic design is something that you can use that creativity in, and I didn't know that. So I was like, okay, this is something that I can, get into, not realizing that graphic design and traditional art are like two different things. They're kind of just like, oh, this is traditional painting is different from graphic design stuff. This is a design world. It's more so objective and it's more so of a technical thing.
Yeah.
Right. So it's more so of, technical. Exactly. And traditional art is more so subjective.
Yeah.
It's more so the feeling of it, and then also painting techniques and things like that. Whereas graphic design, if you don't like something, you can easily undo it. Click undo. Right.
That makes sense.
And yeah. And so traditional art was really that in high school, we would get those kind of art projects and things of that sort. And I really started kind of like picking up on my love for art more, but never really keep it in mind that, oh, this is something I'm going to do in the future.
Yeah.
It was more so, this is cool. I love to do this.
Well, what was your mindset in high school as far as like what you wanted to do as a career? Did you have any idea?
No.
Yeah, that's what everyone says that I talk to, really.
Yeah.
I'd say like 1 out of every 10 people is like, yeah, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. But everyone else is like, yeah, I had no idea, and they kind of just fall into what they're doing now, what we're talking about now. But so if you have no clue on what you wanted to do, what else were you interested in high school?
What was I interested? Music. I love just listening to music.
Yeah.
I had a laptop, and it was full of Lil Wayne songs and a bunch of other songs.
Oh yeah.
And that it was really listening to music and hanging out with friends and
same old.
get involved in stuff that we had no business doing at those ages. And It was that was high school.
Yeah,
right?
Thomas Jefferson, an interesting school. I was Elizabeth Forward, so we were close. We were close. And rivals, but close.
Oh, Did you
play sports at all?
No, I
Okay.
didn't. I wish I did. Yeah.
I almost wish I didn't.
No?
I played football my entire life, and we obviously had a bad time playing Thomas Jefferson, but I don't know. It's weird. We were talking about as being a kid, you don't really have that mindset on what you enjoy. It's you're distracted by just life. You don't really have a second to slow down and be oh, I'm good at this. I really enjoy this. I'd like to figure out a way to, make this my life. But in high school, I just I call it surface decisions. I just made a lot of surface decisions. I didn't really put any thought into things. I was just serving time. I had friends that played football. So I was I'll just play football and that's it. But I never cared about it really.
Yeah.
It was just more of a way to just hang out with people. But it's interesting to hear people how they kind of come to that conclusion. So if you're in high school and you're getting ready to get out of high school, where's your mindset at that point? When do you decide that, graphic design was what you were going to go to next?
I would say we had a high school project a senior project, I believe. And I believe my mom guided me into doing a project about the graphic design in the Art Institute.
Yeah.
And so I went down there and went to go check out the Art Institute and did a project on graphic design stuff. I never exactly knew exactly what it was. I just knew, okay, this is something creative. My mom guided me here. Let me go check it out and do it. And then I went for my associates. And so I did that and I learned more about it. And even as I'm in those classes, there are some times where I literally remember telling a teacher that I did not know how to work this program. There was a project that needed to be done, and I would tell them, I have no clue how to work Illustrator.
Yeah.
I have no. In front of the whole class.
Did you have any experience at all from high school? You didn't have graphic design in high school or anything?
Nothing.
So you were just thrown into the wolves.
Nothing.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, nothing at all.
The Art Institute, though, you went to the Art Institute?
Yeah.
Now, just off the jump, did you have a good experience there?
I would say yes, at the same sense as in still doing high school things.
Yeah.
Still doing things of high school, not focusing on learning more about graphic design. It was still kind of that, oh, this is cool. I'm doing something creative. But there was never this is my thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go far in this and take this to the highest level. That thought was not my mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Art Institute is so interesting because, I've had people that a handful of people that went down there and I've never heard a positive thing about it. Ever.
Yeah.
Usually people are it just wasn't, it taught me what I disliked about it and what, a couple things. But it's interesting because I often hear some negative about it. But so you went there for 2 years?
Yeah, actually, so I went there for I graduated 2012 and then I graduated the Art Institute in 2015. Mm-hmm. So I went for my associates, which is 2 years, but I ended up staying longer because I wasn't doing the stuff that I need to be doing. So I stayed for 3 years there. And I wouldn't say it was necessarily a bad school at all. I think the teachers were fantastic. There were some great teachers there. And I would say it's not really necessarily bad, really. I wouldn't say it was a really bad experience. It was
I don't know why these people that I've talked to, everyone had their own reasons, but they said it was just, it's almost like it was a place that they were able to go that wasn't a regular college that, might be an outlet for, a creative person that might not know exactly what they wanted to do. Mm-hmm. But graphic design, so at that point, what was your, what would be your dream as graphic, if you were going to school for graphic design, what did you want to do with it? Just anything?
Yeah. There was no any kind of what am I going to do with this afterwards?
Yeah.
It was more so just get into graphic design. And I think referring to the people who are talking about it taught them almost nothing, I would say that's a lot with a lot of things to where we go to college for it. Then when we step out in the field is a different animal. It's different.
Yeah.
The field, and I think that's in a lot of things, it's totally different. And that's why I believe now there are companies and businesses that they don't necessarily care too much about that paper.
100%.
They will hire someone who has experience, 3 years of experience in the field than someone who had 4 years in college and who has a paper. They're like, oh no, Will, you've been here for 3 years pretty much. You've been working on cars in this garage for 3 years. Come on in.
Yeah.
Versus someone who has learned things from those teachers and is kind of like this almost protective box.
Yeah.
At the same time, I had the idea of I'm going to get something in graphic design. I don't know exactly what that is. I've seen some cool stuff in graphic design. I see what it can do, and it allows me to use my creativity. And that was the mindset after graduation.
Yeah. Just get a job.
Yeah.
Figure it out.
Yeah.
Start living.
Yeah.
So what happened after school? Like, I mean, did you get a job in graphic design after school?
Yeah.
What did you do?
Graphic design pretty much, but
Yeah.
I worked at a Minuteman Press.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I worked at one of those. And so it was graphic design, but it was also printing.
Yeah.
So I was printing stuff. So it wasn't really fully like focused on graphic design stuff.
Yeah, you were doing everything.
Yeah, I'm printing stuff and doing some graphic design work. And it also helped me realize that I don't love this.
Yeah.
I do not love doing this design work and like clicking away at this screen. It's just not, there's no feeling for, there's more, it's technical.
Yeah.
It's just this tedious thing.
Yeah.
It becomes tedious. And then that's when I realized that, okay, I worked there for like 3 years. And I was like, okay, graphic design is not really, I don't love it.
It's not doing it
That,
for you.
yeah, it's not. Then I think that's when I started focusing more. So, okay, traditional art. Let me just, do some more traditional stuff and then venture out. And then I believe while I was working as a graphic designer, I did a show, my first art show. And I was like, oh, this is nice. This is nice. It's called Raw Artists is what it's called. And they would do shows around different cities and things of that sort. And I think that's when I started. And it was awesome because I worked at a print shop and I was able to make art and print my art there.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, this is nice.
Well, what kind of art were you making at that point? Were you?
Yeah. Oh, portraits.
Oh,
Just
okay. You were painting at that point.
Yeah. It was charcoal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I was just doing like charcoal pieces.
Yeah.
Black and white charcoal pieces. And those were nice. Yeah. It was cool. It was fun it was getting started. Yeah.
And at that point, like, were you, once you started to work with the charcoal again, it kind of like pulled you out of the digital world and like, pulled you back into the more physical world, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah. It was like, okay, I love this.
It's like a blessing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, whenever you're, working on your art there and, obviously working at Minuteman and like just, paying the bills.
Yeah.
How do you, make that jump to, go all in on it? Like, did you have a job after Minuteman or was it just like art full time?
Yeah, it was. I did have a job afterwards. So I found a job because I was working there full time.
Yeah.
And I found a job as a server. I was like, okay, server, let me check this out.
Yeah.
I actually enjoyed being a server more than I enjoyed graphic design.
I bet.
It was different. I was like, this is fun. Like talking to people and
Different exchanges all through the day.
Yeah. And I think for artists looking to make that transition from a full-time job, what helped me realize was I was using a lot of my creativity at that job. So when it came time to make art, my creativity meter was like, man, because it was being used at work. So when it came time to make art, my creativity wasn't as fueled as it would be as if I was doing something different, like being a server.
Yeah.
Being a server is a totally different mindset. So now when I go to be creative, I have energy.
Yeah. Surplus of that creative energy to put into what you actually love.
Yeah. It was awesome. And I was able to do that and then make some art at the same time. Now it wasn't fully sustaining me financially. So then I had to say, okay, I'm not making enough because I was just starting out as an artist, pretty much kind of put my work out there. Art was not making enough for me to work a little bit as a server and then also make art.
Yeah.
And it was the thing of going back and forth between getting a job, working, and also doing art inside.
Yeah.
And there were times where I was like, okay, I'm just going to go art full time. And it was not a good idea.
Yeah.
It was just not a good idea at all.
Yeah.
And if I can go back and not do that, I would. It's difficult because when we were talking about jobs earlier, 9-to-5s are terrible.
Yeah.
What do you think about 9-to-5s? What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, my 9 to 5 is, it's interesting because I love the people that I work with, but I don't feel, it doesn't fuel my soul, if that makes sense. Like, it's cool. I'm good at it. I'm good at AutoCAD. I enjoy it. I could get it done and I could get it done, correctly, but I just, I'm not passionate about it. You know what I mean? And I think it's interesting because, we have a 9 to 5 and you pour all these hours into that. And then, like you said, your energy level is just, it's tough because you just don't have that energy to put into what you love. So it's easy for it to, just get put on the wayside, which is interesting to think about it because it's like, I don't know. There's always in all these conversations I have with people, it's like there's that moment where they're like, "Yeah, I gotta do something because this isn't doing it for me." The 9 to 5 is not doing it for me, and I have my own passions and my own loves, and I need to focus on that. It's like that's usually what people's trajectory is, and it's interesting to hear that like. It's interesting as a thought that like everyone really needs to pay bills and everyone needs to find a way to do that. And, the 9 to 5s are necessary evil. That's kind of what I look at it as. I go to my 9 to 5 and I'm appreciative of it, but this is really what I'm trying to, do as a full-time thing, be able to do this because it makes me feel different than whenever I go to my 9 to 5 and do that work. You know what I mean? I get a certain feeling of accomplishment whenever I do something there and it's right, but like it's not the same as me sitting down with a super interesting person like yourself or anyone else that I have on here and like, learning about their lives and just being, inquisitive and just being, this is just like, I don't know. It makes me feel a different type of way than the other type of work.
Yeah. Yeah. How do you find that balance for you?
It's been tough. I've been doing this for 6 years. I've been at my job for just under 6 years, like 5.5. So, I mean, my balance, I really don't have a lot of balance. I still go to my work every day and then I still do this shit every day. So it's like, I kind of burn the candle at both ends. And it's interesting because for the past few months, I've been in like a rut, I would say, like a creative rut, where it's almost like I kind of fell out of love with this for a minute, just because like, we had shit just go on in our lives. Our dog died and just like kind of took the wind out of out of my sails. And it was hard for me to want to just have people over and like hear about people's lives whenever it just like, I don't know. I just felt like I didn't have the drive to do this again. And I'm like getting back into it. I did another interview last week and, I'm having an interview with you tonight. I got another one tomorrow. So it's like, I'm ramping back up, but for a couple months there, I was just stuck in the mud and there really wasn't like a balance. It was just kind of one-sided of me not doing this as much. But the 6 years prior, it's just, trying to figure it out, trying to do it all,
Yeah.
And how do you balance it? As someone that's doing a 40-hour-a-week job to where you're doing like this artwork that just you have to pour hours into. How do you have the energy to want to come home from work and like pour all your time into this? You said you had a kid. You obviously have a partner that, you have a life that you're sharing with them. So like, there's only so many hours in a day. How do you find balance?
I would say I do it full time.
Yeah.
Cause I do it full time.
Yeah.
And I think that's still a balance though too.
Well, even before full time, whenever you were doing that.
Yeah. I would say before it was like coming home and getting those hours in after work. And it was also a thing of, okay, I have to focus on my health and also my family, but then also getting money from the day job.
Yeah.
I look at it like how Bruce Wayne is Batman.
Yeah.
That's how I look at it. And at my day job, I'm Bruce Wayne. That's how I was looking at when I did that. At my day job, I'm Bruce Wayne. At night, I'm Batman.
Yeah.
I'm doing the art stuff and things of that sort. And then also, I think for people who do have, let's say, a spouse or even a girlfriend, and let's say they do have a kid or not, I would say to keep in mind that I would say to keep going in a way that you are spending time with your family. And then also, if you have 1 or 2 hours, get those 1 or 2 hours in.
Yeah.
I think because there's someone who said something along the lines of 1 is better than 0.
Yeah.
And I think, like you were saying, doing one podcast, you just did one last week, you're doing one today, and it was that taking that step at the same time.
Yeah, to get back into it.
Yeah, and it was more so that action.
Well,
right?
well, in that time, whenever you made that action to do your artwork, it's like, did you ever feel that you weren't able to put 100% into the artwork because of all the stuff you're putting, all your energy you're putting into your daytime? Yeah. You know what I mean? So that's like the difficult conversation with, like, you know, balance. It's like, you know, how could you put everything into your artwork whenever you're, you know, putting so much into your, you know, what you have to do in the daytime.
Yeah.
But that's interesting. So whenever you came back into, you know, the physical art and doing the charcoal and everything, you said you did portraits. You know, was that something that you've done before, or was that like new whenever you jump back into it?
I would say it was kind of new.
Yeah.
It was kind of new. At the same time, before I jumped into doing the charcoal portraits, I did a challenge for myself. It was a 30-day challenge. And are you familiar with something called Inktober?
Inktober.
Yeah.
No.
Inktober is this thing every October. It was made by an artist, and his name is Jake. And each day for October, it's a different prompt. It's a different art prompt. And let's say one for day 1, it's house.
Yeah.
You would draw something that reminds you of a house. And day 2 is something different. And that's how I fell into drawing portraits. Was I tried that art challenge, and each day was something different. So then I looked at, okay, what in this did I really enjoy drawing?
Out of all those.
Yeah. And then I also took, what did I enjoy drawing as a kid? And what I enjoyed drawing as a kid was I would just draw people's faces. And I was thinking, okay, there's a pattern here of what I enjoy drawing. And I think it's the technical side of being able to figure out the puzzle in it. And I think it's very, in a way, I made this connection just now of how you have a love for podcasts and getting to know more about people. I think I have this love for facial features. I think because everyone has a unique face, and I think I naturally am drawn towards the construction of the face, and that naturally drew me towards it as a kid, of figuring out how to place someone's features on their face to make them look like them. And I think that was a thing. It was this pattern of, I enjoy drawing faces, and I'm doing this challenge, and I enjoy drawing faces during this challenge. I'm going to keep venturing out and doing this thing that I naturally love. So I believe that's how I fell into portraits, was doing that as a kid and then following up with it later on as an adult, pretty much. Now,
before you did this like 30-day challenge, where would you say you were at? Like were you good at it? You know, I know it's hard to put like were you good at something, but like, were you exceeding at portraits over like just naturally? You were like, I'm doing all right with these. Like, these are coming out all right. I could figure this out.
Yeah, it was decent. I believe it was decent because of the knowledge that I did have.
Yeah,
the knowledge that I had within it was, okay, I have some knowledge in it, and I'm drawing these people pretty accurately to my what I think.
Yeah.
And compared to now, I believe it's a lot different, because after I started to see the errors, like the sort of mistakes within those portraits, then I started to get books and buy online classes into even YouTube Academy and learn more about drawing portraits. And then that's when I believe I started to get better.
Yeah.
After I started doing those self things of books, online classes, YouTube. And at first, compared to now, I believe I would hope it's a big difference compared to then. At the same time, when I look back at it, sometimes I do say to myself, that's dope.
Yeah.
That was dope sometimes. Yeah. And even with that mindset, I don't like to fall into the habit of looking at old stuff and our recent things and kind of
comparing them.
Yeah. Or jumping into my own hype about it.
Yeah.
Especially when other people hype you up. I don't think it's sometimes not good to almost believe that hype in a sense of not in a sense that it makes you doubt yourself or look negatively on yourself, but more so in the sense of I want to get better.
Yeah. You don't want to feel comfortable like,
Yes.
oh, I'm dope at this. I don't need to keep progressing my skills.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that's good for a lot of artists, even for people in all other crafts as well, is to make note of that, enjoy that for that day.
Yeah.
And then the next day, it's time to move on.
Yeah.
And I'll listen to this podcast, Trevor Noah's podcast.
Yeah.
What Now? And he had Kevin Hart on there. And Kevin Hart was talking about how, Trevor Noah pointed out that he was saying that Kevin Hart is constantly doing things.
Yeah.
He's constantly doing a bunch of stuff. And Trevor Noah pointed out is that because the fear of losing it all or not having the things that you have now and going back to zero. And Kevin Hart mentioned that when he does something, he has a big sold out show in a big arena. Shortly after that, he almost forgets about it as if it didn't happen. And he just moves on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And I believe that's how he's able to do those multiple things and comedy shows and podcasts, and then also a movie here and there. And so I strive to
just keep growing.
Yeah. I strive to listen to people like that and like more podcasts and things, and then also apply those things of, let me just keep going. This is awesome. I want to enjoy it. Now let me move on because I don't want to get stuck in that moment.
Yeah. Being comfortable is a scary thing. Because growth, I mean, you got to be uncomfortable. That usually signals that you're growing in some way. Yeah. Which is interesting. It's interesting to think about that because, people measure, success as like, oh yeah, for him, it's like, oh, I had a sold out show. It's like, technically that's like, that's the goal. That's what you want to do.
Yeah.
But it's cool to hear that like, that's how successful people are, whereas they keep that fire under them to keep progressing, keep moving towards something else. It's like, who did I just listen to? Rob Dyrdek. I just saw a clip the other day, and it's like him, and I know like Mark Wahlberg, like it's like notoriously known that they have like these crazy schedules, and they have like everything just like planned out in their days because they're such busy people. But it's so interesting to think that like, how someone who's that successful can just keep moving and keep like doing new things and keep just growing. That's just I don't know. I feel like not everyone is able to do that, but like that's what we want to do, right? Yeah. Would you say for this podcast, what's a way that you keep yourself moving? You mentioned that you had this period of being stuck in a rut pretty much, and then almost saying to yourself, okay, I'm stuck in this rut, but then let me still take a step forward. No matter how like what's going on up here, let me still physically take that step forward. And I think that the rut that I've been in is just more or less just been not really necessarily about the podcast, but just more of like, I think it really all just came to be, my dog dying. My dog died on December 30th, and it was just very sudden. She had cancer, had to put her down. We took her to the vet, and we didn't expect it. We expected her to have like kennel cough or something. And the vet was like, yeah, she got like a big ass tumor inside of her, can't do nothing. You got to let her go right now. And that just like, it destroyed me. It destroyed me to the point that I've never felt anything before. I've never felt anything like that before. And it just like kind of made this all like made everything with this podcast feel meaningless. It made me feel that, what is this for? And like, I don't feel like that now, but like in that moment of that bottom of the barrel moment, I more or less was like, why should I even care about this? Like there's bigger things to worry about. There's other things that I need to worry about. But, before that, the way that I keep this growing is just like, I think it's more just, being diverse with the type of guests that I have on. I don't just talk to like just like musicians or just artists. I just talk to literally anyone. I don't have a notebook right now. I don't like, pre-make questions or anything. I really just have people on that like I genuinely get like a curiosity about just through looking through their social media. It's like just looking through their social media, something about people just like, I'm fascinated with their minds. Like how did they like whenever I saw you, I saw all your portraits and I saw that you do the video end of it all. And it's just really fascinating because I just wanted to know how you kind of got to that point. But even beyond you, it's just everyone's conversations that I would talk to with all these different walks of life. It's like you always hear everyone's, what happened wrong in their life. So I don't know. It was more just like validation that everyone deals with this like bullshit and everyone got to like tread through this mud and just make it through. And that's kind of like how I am able to like keep growing, I guess, is just know that people are, hearing everyone's stories and hearing how they got to where they are. It's just, and all the trials and tribulations along the way. But yeah, it's just like, I've never really had a period where I had just these past couple months where I just was like, I don't really want to do this right now. I've always felt that I've wanted to do this because like, I love having people over. I love talking to them. I love learning about, what makes them tick. But it was just a weird point in time where I was just like, I just don't care about this right now. And I just had to like, let that kind of pass and, let my mind, my heart, I guess, a little bit heal a little bit more. And I'm getting away from that now. I'm getting away from that like negative feeling and that bottom of the barrel feeling. And I'm getting back into the swing of things. And I think it's all just hearing other people's stories, hearing people, what they went through, and just knowing that people get through it and people keep continuing to move towards their goal and what they want to do. Did you ever have any sort of feelings where you wanted to stop doing artwork?
Let me think. Probably did. I would. I say when I bring myself to that thought of I will want to stop, I just stop. It doesn't. For me, it just doesn't like me saying the words like I want to stop. Is like sometimes I do run to thoughts of this is tough right now.
Yeah.
Especially like financially, this is tough right now financially.
Yeah.
And so I do run to those thoughts of. Do I need to go back and go get a 9-to-5? Like, do I, hey, and there's times where I did do that.
Yeah.
And I would say, okay, let me go apply to a job somewhere and go get that job. And I would do that. And then there'd be a period of time where I went back to working as well. And then also I would say my wife, it's great having a spouse who helps along the way. I think it's different for artists who is, let's say, by themselves and things of that sort, to where they are the only one responsible for paying the things they have to pay for. Yeah. They need, like, if they don't have a 9-to-5 or they're not getting anything financially in, it's solely up to them. So I'm thankful that my wife helps along with that.
Yeah.
So the periods of times where I don't have something financially, my wife's there to help.
Yeah.
And then the times where she may not have something financially, I got it covered.
Yeah.
And it's that lovely, so I'm grateful for that right there. And I think that's what helps my creative journey, is that as well. So it's different for a lot of artists where some artists don't have that other person there to kind of
lean on.
Yeah, in a way, creatively, or a person that understands that creative outlet. Earlier, we were talking about your wife and you, how, what was it, the wedding makeup wife does as well. And it seems that you both have that creative understanding of each other. Of, I understand that you love creative stuff and that you love the podcast, and you saying to her, I love that you love your wedding makeup. I understand that. So I want to make space for you for that. I want to help you to get to that goal. And I think that's what's dope in
That's dope with a relationship. That's the goal. It's like you want to be able to lean on that person whenever you need to, and vice versa. They need to be able to lean on you whenever they're having a rough time. And and I've had people on before where we talked about that, where it's definitely like a blessing to be able to have that type of person in your life that understands you and what you're doing, because some people, they just don't. And it would be tough to not be able to like lean on someone whenever you're like dealing with it. So it's nice to be able to have that person that you could depend on, and it makes it a little bit easier. Now, whenever you have whenever you did have like a regular job and you're working and you're pouring everything into that, did you ever feel like whenever you'd be coming home, that it was almost like jeopardizing your, what you could put into your artwork? You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah. I was at work when I did work, at a couple places actually. As I'm working, I'm dreading it even more.
Yeah.
I do not like the 9 to 5 mindset. I do not. I do not like 9 to 5. I think they're good to have financially to get through things and to pay for things, of course. And I wouldn't, because back then the mindset was go to school, get a job, or go to college, get a job, and then pay off that debt.
Yeah.
And then hopefully they get a job within that field they were in and work a 9 to 5. And it's the confines of that.
Yeah.
And I don't love that 9 to 5. Even like working 40 hours per week is like, back then, those hours may have been necessary because they had factories and things like that. So it was more work that needs to be done, I believe. And then someone like Henry Ford said, well, let's give people 2 days off on the weekend so they can come buy my cars. We no longer have that kind of necessary schedule. I think so. That's the 40-hour work week.
It's crazy.
I think it's nuts. I think it's crazy.
It is.
And then for people to only look forward to 2 weeks paid vacation.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And I think it's helpful for people to do that financially, but then also find something that they love to do.
Yeah.
Find the purpose that you love to, like, if there was no one telling you to do anything and there was no kind of, do something that they would do that they wouldn't have to get paid for.
Yeah.
I think if someone could do something without getting paid for it, they choose that.
Yeah.
Because then eventually, hopefully, they can get paid for it. And I think it definitely was draining, find that balance of, okay, I have this 8-hour day at work.
Yeah, you're busting your ass at work and you got to come home and it's like, see, my thing that I think about is like, I'll be at work and then I come home and I, have to turn it on to like, to be able to talk with someone and like kind of shake away that feeling of like, that full-time job dread. But then, you come home and I got to like turn that on, but I feel like me talking to someone is a little bit easier than like, someone that got to go home and like spend hours painting a picture. So, in that time where you come home, like, from being exhausted from having a full time, do you think that like, you ever had a time where you just like, were like, I just don't feel like doing this anymore. And like, like what made you want to, just like, keep working hard at that to, keep progressing in your abilities with art. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I would say it was mainly surrounding myself with it in a way. I would go to art galleries pretty much, and I would almost put myself in situations where I'm around art more.
Yeah.
And then also I love podcasts. So I'm definitely listening to this podcast, by the way. And I love podcasts, and I would listen to art podcasts and things like that. And I would consistently do things that are feeding that creativity at the same time.
Yeah.
And there have been a lot of days where I didn't make art. There are a lot of days where I didn't make art at all.
Yeah.
And I believe the dread of doing something that I don't love to do would eventually just simply push me towards, I'm going to do more in my art.
Yeah.
That dread of being at a 9 to 5 and hearing someone tell you to do something and you pretty much got to go do it.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's like at the same time, when I did work at jobs, I would do a great job.
Yeah.
I would. Oh, they
absolutely,
from what they would tell me, I would do a fantastic job at, a 9 to 5 job. And so it wasn't like I was dreading it and doing a bad job.
Yeah.
Like giving bad service.
Yeah.
No. It was me doing a great job, but then also saying to myself, I don't feel like constantly saying something and doing this simple thing, even as a server. I don't feel like polishing these silverware. I don't feel like polishing silverware right now for like an hour long. I'm like, well, what am I doing? Polishing silverware for an hour long. And that dread of that, I believe, continued to push me towards feeding that creativity.
Yeah. That's exactly it. It's
Yeah.
like, even whenever you're tired, whenever you're, not really feeling like it, it's just like, that like this is the necessary thing that you have to do to keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Now, you being a full-time artist now, it's like, how do you lean into that and approach it as, a full-time job? I mean, you obviously paint, I'm sure every day it looks like from what I see, but how do you go about like making that a full-time job? Like, how do you go about getting jobs? How do you go about getting, paid gigs and like making that transition to where you are now?
I would say the ability to have sort of a routine, but also the freedom to almost break that routine sometimes. Mm-hmm. What I strive to do is to keep me on track is I'll just do goals. I'll have at least 5 goals in my doing now goals list. Mm-hmm. And I'm focusing on those goals. And then I'll have some ideas of, and I use a website called Notion. Have you ever heard of Notion? It's this really cool, like organized website. And I'm able to put my goals on there, and I have a list to where I'm doing the goals, and then some goals that I'm going to do next are on the side of that, and then goals I've completed at the end of that. And I'll have at least 5 goals. I can't go over more than that, because if I go over more than that, it gets over. I'm overwhelmed. I'm like, oh yeah. And I think what I do is I strive to make art every day. I strive to. I don't do it every single day because I do stuff, video editing and things of that sort.
Yeah.
And so I put time into those things, and it's really me striving to make art, focusing on 3 big things for that day and within those goals. And I think me taking one goal and focusing on 3 things that may relate to that goal each day, as long as I'm doing 3 things that
moving
day,
towards it.
Yeah. As long as I'm doing 3 things towards that day, if I complete those 3 things, then I'm taking steps towards where I would like to be at the same time. And those I believe help me keep on track. Yeah. And then also sharing on social media and companies and things like that, reaching out and just sharing it, really.
Would you say social media is the way that you like kind of got your name out there?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's like the best way.
Yeah. I would say also word of mouth though.
Yeah.
Word of mouth. I'm currently teaching at a Father Ryan Art Center over McKees Rocks.
Okay.
It's a library, but it's also like this big after school program for kids.
Oh, that's cool.
And so, yeah. And I did that by word of mouth. I walked in there. Yeah. Said, hey, you guys have a mural on your wall. And I love murals. And the art director pretty much walked in shortly after, and we had a conversation, and now I teach there.
That's awesome.
And it's also that word of mouth that we can't forget about. We can do social media. Great. But meeting someone in person, it's different.
Yeah, it's way different.
And we can't forget about that meeting in person. Yeah.
So I mean, do you do a lot of murals now?
No? It's random. That's the thing about art, is it's not consistent, really. And I think it's with a lot of entrepreneurial things. Yeah. It's not like this consistent thing to where it's like boom, 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 boom. Eventually, a lot of artists and a lot of people in other crafts get it to that point to where it's consistent in the same, in a sense. Right now, it's like, oh, this big thing happens. Boom, this is fantastic. A small thing might happen now. Yeah. Or there might be this period where nothing's happening. And so what I'm doing now is I'm doing things to where I don't have to wait for someone to say, hey, we would like to hire you to do this. And that's what YouTube is for me. YouTube is for me to do something to where I don't have to wait financially. I look at YouTube as a money tree. Yeah. It's this money tree where eventually it's just going to start dropping.
Are you talking about making content for YouTube?
Yeah. It's going to start making money over time. It's just this money tree that you just feed. Yeah. You just feed. It's very similar to a podcast. Yeah. You just feed it.
100%.
You just keep feeding it.
100%.
And then eventually, while you're
playing the long game.
Yeah. And then eventually, while other things are happening, you don't have to worry about if someone's going to hire you for something, because I have a money tree
grown in the background.
Yeah, I have a money tree in the backyard. So it's like,
I like that.
This is happening. Well, I was like, oh, I have a money tree in the backyard. And I think it's difficult for a lot of artists, and some artists might give up because we're waiting for this cash cow to come in.
Yeah, that's what it
is. And say, here's $1,000. And that does happen, which is, it's dope. As an artist, though, I'm starting to realize that's not
all the time.
No.
Yeah. So it's like, that's interesting to think about, because I don't know. I feel like that's what kind of separates people that succeed is like the people that, just stop whenever it's tough. Like I've been doing this. I had a sponsor for a couple years that was cool and they were paying me, but then, the rest of the time I do this for free. This is a lot of time and effort to put into this, but it's like you said, it's just like a money tree in the background. Like I'm working on it and I'm happy with the trajectory of it. I'm happy with the time that I put into it because, I'm playing the long game with this. I hope, you know what I mean? We'll get there eventually. It's starting to, I'm starting to shake free with it now, but it's interesting to think about that. It's like the right mindset to have, I feel.
Yeah.
To be able to think like that. So, your artwork now, you say you try to paint almost every day whenever you're not doing video editing. What are you painting mostly? Portraits still?
Yep, portrait. More so figurative work.
Yeah.
Like I love the figure, and I'm currently painting more of my son.
Yeah.
Like I'm painting him. He's like the main model right now.
Yeah.
And I'm learning that I would find photos online of references of people that I did not know at all.
Yeah.
Do not know at all. And there wouldn't be as much of a connection to that piece. And currently what I'm doing is I'm finding it more of a interesting thing to have my son build Legos and take a photo of him and paint it.
Yeah.
And then it's almost like this.
Makes you want to paint that rather than someone just random. Something.
Random, and there's no connection to this painting. Am I doing it because people think this painting looks cool? Or am I doing it because I love doing it?
Yeah.
And I think it's an interesting thing of doing it because we love to do it or doing it because we think someone's going to think this looks cool.
Yeah.
And I think people can see it, but they don't click with it immediately. People may walk past and think, "Oh, that's awesome painting right there. That's a very awesome painting." To them, it's awesome. At the same time, they may not connect with it as much as they're not connecting with it the way I would want them.
Yeah, on the level that you're connecting.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, this is cool, but this is not like.
Yeah.
And so I'm painting my son now, and it's more. I'm enjoying it. It's because I'm also learning more. I learned that when I challenge myself in my art, and I'm able to develop my skill, I choose to go in a direction to where I'm developing my skill. And I think that's what helps me make art that I like.
Yeah.
Is I'm also learning something within this.
Yeah.
I'm not saying stagnant in this, I painted this and people just love this.
Yeah.
People love flowers. They love flowers. Let me just paint more flowers.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that.
Yeah, that's understandable. How do you end up getting to paint the mayor? Where does that come from?
Yeah, it was Kat, the lady who works at the Children's Museum, the Kids Museum, and she oversees the events over there, like the one we just had this past weekend, the Black History Art Crawl at that museum. And she reached out and said, "Hey, would you want to be a part of this?" And we have a list of different Black historical figures of Pittsburgh that you can choose from. And I was like, okay, I asked my wife. Of course, we asked her wife to kind of guide us. Who should I choose for this?
Yeah.
And she said, Ed Gainey. And I was like, okay, yeah, because I mentioned Ed Gainey to her. And she was like, choose Ed Gainey. I was like, okay, this is awesome.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking in my head, okay, it'd be cool if he showed up. And then people would tell me, "Hey, he might show up today."
Yeah, that's sick.
He might show up today.
I saw your clip that you had on Instagram of him there.
Post that today. Yeah.
Big old smile.
Post that day.
Yeah, that's cool that happens. So I mean, like for you to, from your social media, it looks like you stay busy as much as you can. I saw you had did you have a show at the airport?
Yeah. I had a show at the airport. It's an exhibition.
Yeah, like
going on. Yeah, people can go past and see it throughout the airport. And next Monday, we're having a reception for it. So the ladies who I painted will be there. And then other staff of the airport will be there. And it's just going to be a hangout kind of thing in a way. And so I love doing things that are like that in a way.
Well, what makes you want to jump into doing the video editing? Because I know that's like a beast in itself. So what makes you want to take that feed on?
I would say it's presenting the artwork.
Yeah.
And I think I have a love for lighting.
Yeah.
In different camera angles.
Yeah.
I think I naturally kind of fell into it.
I love the video editing of it. It's so fun. It's just fun to do.
It is. Do you love movies? How are you with me?
I'm a big movie guy.
Yeah.
Very big movie guy.
I think that's a big point because I think we have this love for looking at a movie, and we love it because
what do we love about
action
that?
Scenes, these action scenes, and then also like the lighting of it.
Yeah,
you look at John Wick at nighttime or Batman. Did you see the new Batman?
Which one? Robert Pattinson?
Yeah. The last
I
one
haven't seen that.
It's good.
I know that's what everyone says.
Even the previous Batmans, the previous ones,
they all have like a certain vibe to it.
Yeah, or even Michael Bay. Is that Michael Bay who makes Transformers movies?
Yeah.
His
Yeah,
movies,
those all have like their own feel. You could tell
right.
it's a Michael Bay movie. You could tell a Steven Spielberg movie. You know, everyone got their own like stamp that they put on it.
Yes.
It's cool to incorporate that. You know, it's another way for you to like, or not even just you, but it's another way for people to like be creative. Like me, you know, I was never good at physical art. You know, I can't draw at all. But I would always have these like crazy ideas, and like, you know, I would never be able to like put them in, but this is just another way to be able to be creative and like kind of scratch that itch and like get that out beyond like the podcast. Like this is creative, I guess. So, you know, this is a somewhat of a, it's dope. You know, it's dope. I'm happy with it, but it's like
setup is dope.
I appreciate that. This is, you know, this is just like, but again, like this is not art that I did, you know, this is art that other great artists, do. And, you know, I would like, this is my idea, but you know, like these are my ideas, but I always have to find someone to make it and put it and create that piece. But like the video is a way that I could be creative, you know, it's a way that I could, you know, put my stamp on it a little bit. I mean, and I'm also very new to it. So it's just like, you know, it's fun. It's exciting, but it's also a pain in the ass sometimes because it just takes so much. It takes so much time. I don't even know how people like yourself could function to have all this extra time with like, you know, a child that's just like, you know, 8 years old. I'm sure that he's just busy. You know, my brother has kids and we don't have kids. Me and my wife, we just have that one dog. And, you know, it's overwhelming because I don't like, there's just so many hours in the day. It's hard to fit everything into it.
Yeah, it is. And I think it's that one step at a time thing. I've setting that goal for that day and doing that. And I think what really does keep me going and striving to do more things within that day is thinking to myself, I can be doing something right now, building towards that more. And then I also think to myself, there are people out there, and not that, I don't believe a lot of artists are very competitive in that sense.
You said they're not competitive?
I don't think, as in a sense of, in a negative sense.
Yeah.
I'm competitive. I love gaming. I'm quite competitive. But I don't think artists are competitive in a way that they would. I don't believe there's a lot of art gatekeepers that I've met personally that I'll look at like, okay, this is that's negative. And I would say, I lost track of the question. What was the main question again?
I never remember. We were talking about we were talking about, you know, gatekeeping art, and we were talking about, you know, people having a negative outlook on it and competing with negative aspects of art. But it's interesting to think about how, you know, like, what do you do besides art? Like, what do you do for your you know, your mental health of it all? You know, whenever you're not doing artwork, you know, I'm sure you have to take time off of doing art to, you know, because you could burn yourself out, I'm sure. Yeah. You know, like what else do you enjoy doing?
Martial arts.
Oh, yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
And that's what I was saying. I think a lot of artists, what helps me continue to try to do more things was one, looking at people like Kevin Hart and seeing how much like he can do in doing those things. Yeah. And then me saying, okay, when I do have something going on, I think to myself, okay, that it's cool that this is going on, but then when that ends, what's happening after that? Yeah. And I think that is what keeps me finding the next thing. Yeah. As in, okay, it's cool that I have the event going on. What's going to happen after this event? Yeah. Okay, I want to think about the next thing. Yeah. Let's say the event falls through and doesn't happen. Do I have something that's going to keep me moving forward? And then also the thing of not waiting for others. Yeah. Like not waiting for someone to reach out and things of that sort. Hey, we want to pay you for this. And hey, we want you to, I don't want to wait for that. I'm not waiting for that. Yeah. From people to do that. It's awesome that it does happen. And I'm grateful for when people do reach out and they say they want to hire me for something and things like that, I'm grateful for that. At the same time, I don't want to wait for that. So I'm always thinking of what's next.
Yeah, what
what's
you can do next.
Yeah. And then what keeps me kind of going and keeps me pushing towards that more is martial arts. I love learning more about martial arts and like exercising in it.
Yeah.
I think that for me, it's almost like hand in hand for me. I think when I do something physical for that day, I put that mindset into my art.
Yeah.
And I think that's what really pushes me in my art is pushing myself physically. Because then I think that it's almost the competing mindset.
Mm-hmm. It's a way to be.
Yeah.
It's a way to get that out of you.
Yeah. And my love for like UFC and things like that, when I watch those fighters fight, before they're fighting, they're in the gym and they have 3 minute, 5 minute, three rounds for 5 minutes, or they have 5 rounds for 5 minutes, and they have to push themselves further than the other person.
Yeah,
and they don't know how far the other person's going to go.
Yeah,
and so I think when I'm exercising, I'm pushing myself as if I don't know how.
Yeah, someone else is working
harder. I don't know
harder.
how. Yes, let me just put myself harder than I think that they're going to go.
Yeah,
and I think
that's a good way to think about it.
Yeah, and so I think that's why I admire martial arts, and I take that mindset and I apply it to art.
Yeah.
Like, okay, let me push myself further than I think someone else might go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, what are your goals as an artist? What are your goals from this point? Like, what would you like?
Yeah. I would say my goals for an artist is to, one, keep teaching.
Yeah.
Keep teaching at the same
You like
time.
teaching?
I do. I enjoy it. I enjoy giving that knowledge back that I do know.
Yeah.
But then also, as I'm currently teaching teaching middle school students, I'm also like hanging out with these kids. Like they're just cool to be around at the same time. So it's cool to actually be in those environments, because as artists, we're always in our studios, and it's kind of like we're in our studio space. We have this, and we're not out there in the world.
Yeah, you're reclusive.
Yeah.
But this is a way for you to get out and, communicate. I remember I did after school program whenever I went to school, and I remember the older kids that would come in and teach. I remember such an impact that they would have, because, the older cool kids, it's almost like, they were the ones that were telling, kind of putting you onto what was cool. You just you're like, oh, this older kid, he's good at artwork. You could be the reason that you could cultivate interest in these kids that might not know that they ever had an interest in that stuff. Which is definitely cool. So teaching, you want to keep teaching. I know that you do the YouTube channel and you have a lot of teaching on there. So that's cool. YouTube is a big thing that I'm investing more in. And then also making more art, but then also doing that on a large scale. Yeah. Doing that on a large scale to where more people can experience it. Yeah. And how so? What do you mean on a large scale?
I'll say physically, even painting larger.
Oh, yeah.
But then also on a large scale, doing large exhibitions.
Yeah.
Where it's just a big space and there's big paintings on the wall. There's a bunch of people in there. It's like, oh, this is dope. I would love to do something like that. I think me continue to make more art and going bigger, I believe that opens up more doors for that once I share it, so that more people can see it. Mainly, more companies can see it.
Yeah, what you're capable of.
Yeah, I would love to work with more companies, more bigger companies and things like that, because I noticed that those are awesome ways to put my art out there, and then also get to experience working with big companies and not simply staying within my neighborhood. And just doing little local shows. Local shows for any artist who does local shows. It's good.
It's great. It's great starting off, but eventually you want to be able to, make this a career and pay your bills. I feel like that it's not talked about enough. Everyone talks about the love of what they're doing, and that's understandable. And it's you obviously love what you're doing, but you love it so much that eventually you would, want to be able to, have it fund your life. Yeah. Because if that's a possibility, that's more that you could pour into what you love and what you could, push forward toward and what you could make. I do all this on top of a 40-hour job. So it's what could I do if I focused all my time on this? You know, what could this become if I focused all my time on this? And if that was an option, and that's like, you know, across the board with anyone that I have on here.
Yeah.
You know, that a lot of people that I've have on, you know, they come on and they talk to me about what they do, and some people it is their job, but there is also people that I've had on that, you know, this is just a side project they do, whether they are, you know, people that make hot sauces, people that just randomly, you know, make bread or something like that. It's like, what could you really do if you were able to put every like 100% into it? Compared to, you know, just the fraction that you could, you know, manage after you go to work and then you come home and, you know what I mean?
Yeah. What would you do? What would, if you had the whole week
with this?
Yes.
If I had all the hours for this?
Yeah. If you had all the hours.
I mean, there would be episodes every week. The videos would be on point all the time. They would be, you know, crisp, clean. You know, I would focus more of my time into doing it. You know, I like today I just spent all day, you know, editing this week's episode, and it was just, you know, I devoted my day to it. I woke up and I was like, I'm going to put my time into this today, and it was refreshing because I had no other obligations today, and I was just able to focus all my energy and my attention into making this thing as good as I wanted it to be. Whereas, you know, some days, I'm completely honest about it. Some days I come home after work and I'm like, oh shit, I got to get this episode out. And I might take shortcuts on the video. You know what I mean? I might not add in a photo reference that I want. I might not add in, you know, text boxes, certain places. You know what I mean? Just stupid things that are little shortcuts that save me time that I wouldn't take if I had more time to devote to it. Right. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And when you mentioned when you come home and you think to yourself, oh, I got a podcast, I got to, you know, clip up and whatnot.
Yeah.
That accountability right there.
Yeah.
How would you say you keep that? Because we're as like an entrepreneur or a creative or a person that's simply working for yourself, we have to keep ourselves accountable.
Yeah.
We don't have the person at work saying, hey, we need these papers over there by 6.
Yeah. I keep myself accountable, like you said. It's just like I'm doing, I know that I need to put my time into this because I know that I'm not going to stop until it pays off, and I get to that point to where it becomes the full time. You know what I mean? But beyond that, it's just, I mean, it's tough because I make myself sick about this. You know, it's funny because if I skip a week, I know that it's not going to be the end of the world from the listener's point of view. It's like, oh yeah, there's not an episode this week. It's fine. But for me, if I don't put out an episode, it's like if you ever like, you know, if you ever skip school or like called off work, it's like I get like a guilt if I ever would do that. And I get like a certain level of anxiety if I don't put out an episode on a Thursday. Every episode drops on Thursdays. And if I don't put one out, it just makes me feel like, you know, that everything's going to like fall apart. But realistically, that's just like the pressure that I put on myself, which, I mean, I guess it's good to a certain extent, but it's also like, you know, not healthy sometimes because I worry so much, but I shouldn't put as much worry on it. But that's like that balance that we were talking about, trying to like, you know, figure out the right way to be able to do it all.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
That does. Yeah.
Yes.
I think that's dope because there is that kind of accountability.
Yeah.
Feeling like,
well, what keeps you accountable?
Yeah. Almost that same feeling of if I don't do this, like I feel that guilt because I do have the time to do it in a sense. So now I'm wasting time if I don't do it. And I don't, like, sometimes I enjoy gaming and watching TV and things like that. I will push that stuff back though. Yeah. And I won't give myself that if I do not do what I need to do in terms of creative stuff at
Makes
the same
sense.
time. Yeah. I think that's good. Yeah, like I say, I think it can be possibly unhealthy. It may be, but I'm trying to see how though.
Sometimes you just need. Sometimes I I weigh too heavy on myself. Sometimes I let it weigh too heavy for no reason.
Okay.
Like, there's not even any reason where I mean, I guess it's different now because it's like, this is, like you said, this is your, full-time job as being an artist. So, you have to do it, where this for me, I don't necessarily have to do this. People are not paying me to put these episodes out. I have no obligation to put these episodes out, but I just I build it up to be something more in my mind. And I guess I just done that from the beginning, just because I just don't want it to fall apart. I don't want to just stop doing it. And the more you take off of it, the easier it is to just like, let it just, one day turns into 2 days, turns into 3 days of just not doing it. So it's just like getting out there every day and just, I don't know, trying to spend some time on it every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's tough.
It is. It's tough stuff.
It's dope though. Like the reward of it, would you say is like pretty dope in a sense?
It feels good to be able to put an episode out and just know it's done. Like this week's episode's done. It's already, queued up, ready to go. And there's like a feeling of calm over me. But, I just know that I have to edit the other one that I already have in the book. I got to edit yours. I got to edit my buddy's tomorrow. So it's just, I just keep that pressure on just to, I don't know, just to keep going with it all.
Going, so that the fire of the challenge of it too.
Yeah.
I think if it was like more so easy, it might not feel as
rewarding.
If it was just kind of like, if I just flip a coin over there, all right, anyways, I'm gonna.
Yeah.
So it's more so, no, let me stack these coins and let me count this, and if I don't do that, then this is not going to happen. And I think also when we're talking about like the 9 to 5, I think for me it's kind of like I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
I don't want to do that, and then also keeping in my mind my goals of what I want to do, and that keeps me going. As in, okay, I want to do this in the future. So let me hold off the instant gratification part and just wait. Let me just delay it right now. Even when I don't feel like doing it, let me just do it.
Yeah.
So something small.
Yeah.
10 minutes here.
Yeah.
20 minutes here.
That's all it is. Just a little bit into it every day.
It's very similar to like working out.
Yeah.
And sometimes I don't work out for more than 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Me, I don't feel like working out for that. Sometimes I don't have time to work out. So if I do 10 minutes that day, for me, I have to do something physically before I start the day.
Yeah.
I know, because especially like having kids and a wife, I have to make sure my mental is there.
Yeah.
So especially having a kid, I have to be like, okay.
Make sure you're all right so you can be the good person for your kid.
Yes. I have to kind of like, at the same time. And I think I do this thing I learned from a YouTuber named Matt Diavella, and it's the 2-day rule. And I don't go more than 2 days without exercising.
Yeah.
No more than 2 days. So I can skip one day. I can work out the next day. Or I can skip that day.
Yeah. But if you go past 2 days, it's easier to, skip a week.
Yeah.
Skip 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the foundation of what what we've been talking about. I feel is like just get in there at least every day and put a little bit of time into it every day. I think that's the goal.
Yeah. One step at a time, man.
One step at a time. That's all it is.
Yeah.
So do you think that I usually, I feel like that, talking to you about art, I feel like that I kind of touched on. I don't want to keep you here too long, but I usually, do you think that there was anything I missed as far as what you want to do as being an artist? You think there's anything that I missed as far as what we should talk about, or would you think you're ready to go to the ending segment of the podcast?
I think you touched on a lot of good stuff, man.
I try.
I think what's dope about it is, for me, because I would love to do a podcast in the future, by the way, I don't want to say the name of it. It's a great name.
That's all right.
It's a great name.
Keep it tucked.
It's a great name for now. I was like, this is a great name for a podcast, and I would love to do a podcast because I love learning more about people too, and simply getting to know them at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think that this was dope. Oh yeah, as I was saying, it's dope because I would think that people would have like notes sometimes. Like some people, when I watch podcasts, I'm like, do they have like notes? Are they remembering like do other podcasters remember like a bunch of questions? Or is it kind of just like the flow? Like Joe Rogan's podcast is like, it's like a flow.
Yeah, it's just
like I watched one like a full thing for one time. It was just like a conversation with Dave Chappelle.
Yeah,
it was just
that's all I do.
It was just I was like, oh, this is dope.
I don't really have a bunch of questions written down. Beforehand, the way that I do all this is I find someone a subject, I go on their social media, I scroll through it, make sure they're not a piece of shit, make sure that I don't dislike them as a person, and then I just, questions kind of naturally, build over, the anticipation of having you come over, just think about, what, it's all kind of the same thing. It's like, where were you at as a kid, and how you got to where you are today, and like all the crazy things that happened in between. But everyone just has a fascinating story, and I feel like you could kind of learn anything from anyone. Yeah. But I thought it was. I mean, I think it's interesting. I think what you do is interesting for sure. I think that it. I think it's just interesting to hear about an artist's mentality because. They're always so different. Everyone's always so different. How you approach your art. Like, how do you approach your paintings? Like, do you have do you have a certain way that you do every painting? Do you start, do you have steps that you do for every single painting, or is it all just kind of like figuring it out along the way?
Kind of. I have a plan in a way, but then I leave flex room. Yeah. I leave a little room to improv. Yeah. I love the improv part of it as well, but I have some plan in mind. Yeah. And each painting starts out similar, but it's sometimes not the same.
You just let it go where it is.
Yeah. It's kind of like, okay, I have a plan for this. I have an idea. I'll sketch something up, but then as I'm doing it, a different idea might pop in. Mm-hmm. I think if we fully control every aspect of it, it's just kind of like, oh, doesn't seem as genuine. It doesn't seem as... It's too planned. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's too, that's how I think this was dope about this podcast is it's not fully covered as in like someone reading a script. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like if you, hey,
this is very,
hey, here's where I want you to read this.
This is very organic. This is a very organic conversation. I never really know where they're going to go, but they always turn out to be pretty good.
Have you had some weird ones?
I've had weird podcasts. I've had unexpected podcasts, but they're all pretty much, I don't know. I feel like I'm all right at talking to pretty much any person. I find common ground with people. I always go back to, people always ask like, what's a weirder episode you had? And I don't necessarily think it's weird, but the person that I had on, I wanted to find someone who dug graves. I wanted to talk to the person that digs the graves at the cemeteries. Why does that person do it? How did that person get into that type of job? And I reached out on Facebook. I just put something on Facebook like, does anyone know any groundskeepers? And this guy came over. His name was Dan Dobies, and this was probably 4 or 5 years ago now, but he was 31 and he has been working at the cemetery since he was 14. So as a 31-year-old, he was already doing this for 16 years. Yeah. So this guy was very quiet. He was not a social media guy. He was just kind of apprehensive about doing this, but I feel like I'm decent at finding common ground with people and peeling the layers away. Yeah. But I would say that was like one of the most unexpected. He just was not a big talker, and it took a minute to kind of, get that ball rolling. But other than that, not really any that I could think of that were necessarily like, really weird. You know what I mean? Yeah. But all right. So the ending segment that I do with everyone is an ending segment called Desert Island Questions.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh,
this will be good.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so the ending segment is Desert Island Questions. Desert Island Questions is whenever I give each guest 3 categories to take with them on a desert island and use until they starve to death and die. First category is 3 movies to take on a desert island. So if you were stuck on a desert island and you had a little TV with an integrated DVD player, you were only allowed to have 3 DVDs for the rest of your life, what would they be?
Number 1 would be The Revenant with Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's a fantastic movie.
It's been a while since I watched that.
It's good stuff, good stuff. The next movie would be, let's go for comedy here. Let's go for something funny. I would probably do a stand-up. I'd probably do like a Dave Chappelle or Kevin Hart stand-up. I'd probably do like a Kevin Hart stand-up. Something funny. Something to keep me laughing while I'm stuck on this island. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then lastly, let's see, off the top of my head, something. Have you ever heard of the movie We Bought a Zoo?
Yeah.
Something along the lines of that movie.
Yeah.
So,
Just
where
like
it's
a feel good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just
it's
something
like
easy to watch, feel good movie.
Yeah.
That's good.
I'm hitting different emotions here.
Yeah.
You know, we got something serious, The Revenant.
Yeah.
Then we got something funny.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart watching. And then we got something, you know, warm-hearted.
Yeah. Warm-hearted. That's good.
You know, so something warming.
That's good. Okay. Do you read it all?
Like I strive to. I strive to read sometimes.
Do you have like a favorite book that you have?
Yeah. One of my favorite books right now. Oh, I'm listening to a podcast, not podcast, the audiobook, of Will Smith's book, Will.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't even know he had a book out.
Oh,
Is
it's
it
good.
new?
No. I think it
Okay.
came out like 2 years ago, maybe.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't know.
It's good. I'd bring that book.
Yeah, he has a
Yeah.
fascinating life for sure. I mean, from being a kid to where he is now, got to be a good book.
It's good stuff.
Okay, third category, 3 CDs to take.
3 CDs to take.
Yeah.
Ooh. What can I listen to? Okay. One would be it'd be a J. Cole CD.
Okay, which one?
It would probably be, oh, that's a tough one. It would probably be either the Off Season
Yeah.
or it'd be Forest Hill Drive.
Okay.
Yeah. It'd be Forest Hill Drive with Off Season. One of those.
I'll give you both of them.
Oh, I'll take them.
I'll give you both of them for
Yeah,
one
yeah.
choice. So I'll just give you his whole discography. That's fine.
Yeah, you know, yeah, thanks. And then, was there 2 more choices or one?
2 more choices.
2 choices? Okay, it would be one of the CDs by Toby Nwigwe. He's a
Toby Nwigwe.
Yeah, he's a Nigerian rapper, but he's from Houston.
Okay.
He's from Houston. Toby Nwigwe, how you actually pronounce his name.
Okay.
The N is silent. And so, can I get his whole?
Yeah. Whole discography.
Yeah,
that
thing.
works.
And then Kendrick Lamar.
Okay.
That's it.
That's good.
Kendrick Lamar, and I think that's our Chance the Rapper. Oh man.
He was one of the best shows I've seen here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I got to see him. It's had to be 4 or 5 years ago now. Fantastic.
What?
Yeah, it was real good. He had like a roller coaster
Get out
track
of here.
there.
Yeah.
It was wild. It was a wild thing to see. Did
Yeah.
you go see J. Cole?
No, my wife did.
Oh,
my wife can go
goodness.
see J. Cole and Drake.
Yeah.
I was like, I had a chance to go.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't want to go. I don't like. She bought me Kendrick Lamar tickets one time. It was
wow.
a fantastic concert. It was great. I just didn't like it. I just didn't like the environment of it.
Yeah.
I think so. I was like, I don't like
It
this.
takes like a lot for me to go to a concert anymore. I'm like
Yeah.
kind of I get like sensory overload almost, where I just like can't really enjoy being there just because of like huge crowds.
People just and mother.
Yeah, it's
I'm
just
like, I don't
wild.
feel like being
It's just
around
wild. Don't even sound good half the time, but it's cool to be there though. Okay, third to last question is something called the Death Row Meal.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I had the volume down. I'm gonna play it again.
Oh.
It's the Undertaker sound. Okay, Death Row Meal is your last meal before you get put to death. What would it be if it
my
was
goodness.
a appetizer, a main course, and a dessert?
Okay, appetizer. I just had firecracker shrimp at Bahama Breeze. I would do that. This is so interesting to think about. As the main thing, I would have something steak like.
Yeah,
Some
that's
steak.
like that's probally the most picked choice on here. Is
Just
like a steak
quick
and a
and easy.
potato or something.
Quick and easy.
What about dessert?
Dessert, I would have. I don't know. What would I have dessert? Okay, cheesecake. Something cheesecake like.
That's good.
Cheesecake.
That's good.
What's some ice cream with
That's
it?
a simple
Is
answer.
that 2 separate ones? Or
No. That's all. You
We're
could
in-
have that. That's
yeah,
good.
yeah.
Okay. Second to last question. You get ready to
Yeah.
go on a road trip. You go into a gas station. You pick a snack. What's your snack choice?
Snack choice is going to be a protein bar that is, by the way, I'm not the most healthiest.
That's all right.
I know I'm promoting very healthy things.
That's all right.
People are like, oh my gosh, this guy sounds like he works out and no, working out is tough. I don't like working out that much at all. And so I would protein bar. There's these protein bars. I forget the name of them, but they have like caramel and chocolate in them.
Okay.
So like kind of like a sweet, but it's also like this cool protein bar.
Yeah.
I get that.
Okay, that
Yeah,
works. Last question. If you could have a conversation with anyone alive or dead, who would it be and why?
It would probably be, off the top of my head, Kevin Hart. It would be Kevin Hart.
That would be good. That would be a great.
It'd be Kevin Hart.
It's a great
Yeah,
answer. He would be fascinating to talk to.
Yeah, no, right?
Yeah, anyone really like that. Anyone that's like a high profile person that's just like thriving at what they do would be fascinating to talk to. Well, that's great. I think with it, I mean, we had a great conversation. I feel. Will you take a second and will you promote all of your channels, all of your social media, wherever everyone could find what you do?
Yeah, so people can find me at Korey the Artist on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Korey Edmonson.
Korey with a K.
Yes, Orey. The E's in there too. The E's in there, and so yeah, those Instagram, TikTok, Korey the Artist, and YouTube, Korey Edmonson. They can find me. Yeah.
I'll have all the descriptions, or I'll have everything posted in the descriptions below. But yeah, I appreciate you coming over and like carving some time out of your life to come and talk to me a little bit about what you do.
Yeah.
Very fascinating stuff. Your artwork is really, really great. I like that you post the process of it all. You know, that's what's most fascinating to me, just because I think that because I'm so bad at art, I appreciate seeing the process of everything so much. I like whenever like Tyler posts his processes, and pretty much any artist, you know, it's just cool to see how you build into the finished product from, you know, each step. I can't remember which one I just watched, but like you were painting like a bird. It was green. You put you made the background a certain color, and it was just like, you know, the foundation of it all. And then it turned into something completely different. It's wild stuff. I enjoy seeing it. Thanks. Absolutely. Everyone else that is listening, appreciate Yinz as usual. Each and every week, we're back with another great guest doing great things in the city. Thank you for listening. Call you right back.
Yes. It's a great name, by the way.
Thank you. There you go. That's a podcast right there.
Man.